I feel like focusing on the race is kind of missing the mark.
Okay.
And I feel like
They're focusing too much on the race and the diversity, where they're
they're not really getting the message. Yeah,
lacking the message of the story.
100%.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for stopping.
Mhm.
What's your name?
My name's Colin.
Colin?
Yeah.
I'm David.
Nice to meet you, David. You get a lot of people stop by?
You're the second one.
All right.
Yeah. What are you studying here?
Criminology.
Criminology?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
I studied a little bit of that when I was going to school. Not too much though. What caused you to choose that?
Well, I eventually want to go into law, and I was thinking. Now later I learned on that your major doesn't really matter going into law school, but I definitely thought it was interesting, and I'm taking classes now for it, and it definitely is piquing my interest. So that's kind of how I got into it, and
Okay.
I'm sticking with it. So yeah.
Cool. How do you spell your name, Colin?
Colin.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Just to kind of explain what I'm doing, I'm interviewing folks in different communities about something meaningful to you, something that you think is true. And what I like to do is kind of ask questions that help us explore how you got there and what supports your confidence that it's true. There's a couple of different ways we can do it. We can either kind of have a meta conversation about what you think truth is. That can be fun. We can explore a specific belief that you have, where I'll ask questions about what supports it. Also, we could explore a problem that you think that we have and what you think the solutions are, and I can kind of ask you about that. I also have what I call a can of words, just a bunch of words written down in here that kind of might generate an idea that you feel strongly about that you might want to explore. So it depends on how you want to take that.
I got a fun problem. I think
Okay.
I think one that can go many different ways.
Okay.
I think that the current generation is not in touch with reality. I think that's what I think, and I think that manifests in many different ways.
Current generation is not in touch with reality. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so what do you mean by current generation?
So I
What's
think
your parameters?
I think the current generation. Sorry, good question. I should clarify. I think the kids and students of America, I think are, or not even just America, across the world, I think are kind of creating definitely a new culture, and I think it's mainly the people who you see like in the workforce or who are like leading, around the world. I think that they are not really in touch with that.
Okay.
Not in a way where it's like, I don't think that it's negatively, it might be negatively impacting the youth, but what I think it's at least doing is maybe misrepresenting what the youth are and what they're going through. And by youth, I mean like, people in, from as little as elementary school to maybe like college students, I think, stuff like that.
You have like an age bracket?
Like, your typical college student graduates at like 22, right? I think so. Yeah, so like
Okay.
about like, let's go 8 to 22. Like
8 to 22?
yeah, young generation,
Okay.
I think.
So people in the ages from 8 to 22
Mm-hmm.
are not in touch with reality?
Oh, I got you.
Sorry about that.
It's windy.
Yeah, thanks.
I got you. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Mhm.
All right, so people 8 to 22 are not in touch with reality. That's kind of what you're saying?
No, I think anyone like outside of that age bracket is not in touch with like that generation. I think 8 to 22. Yeah.
Okay. Here, we'll just set this over here for right now.
Mm-hmm. Do you wanna lean it against my backpack?
No, that's all right.
Okay.
I got that camera, hopefully this one, and then this one here.
All right, gotcha.
Okay. So the people outside of this bracket
Yeah.
are not in touch with this generation.
That generation, like their culture, their issues. I think that's the problem. That's a problem that we're facing. I think.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a generation gap.
Yeah, but I feel like this one, because I feel like with every generation, you have a generational gap. Now, of course, like I think that can be crossed by anyone. Anyone can relate to another person. You know, I think we're all relatable in some way. But I feel like this one feels really intense. Like when I'm looking at people who are outside that age bracket, it feels like our culture is so much different than theirs. And I feel like there's a bit of that in every generation. Like I feel like my parents, when they were within that age bracket, they're like, oh, we're so different than, you know, the people who are older than us. But I feel like with this one especially, I feel like there's a huge gap. And, you know, I feel like there's many different reasons why that could be. Maybe it's, you know, we grew up with technology, like really like heavily ingrained in our lives.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like media is a big part of it too, whether that be social media or more traditional media like news and stuff like that, articles online. I think definitely technology has to do with that gap. Media has to do with that, but I feel like there definitely is like a huge difference between that generation, 8 to 22, and the current one outside that bracket.
Why is this topic important to you?
Well, definitely, I would, you know, I'd be in that range. So I feel like when it comes to like parents and like these media outlets that are like everywhere nowadays, I feel like a lot of it feels like I'm misrepresented in a way.
Okay.
You know, some of the issues that are put out there, I don't really identify with, and sometimes it feels like, you know, media or people who are, you know, outside that bracket, it feels like they're trying to like connect with me, and it just doesn't feel like it's sticking. Like I feel like within that bracket, 8 to 22, the culture is so integral to that age group, and I feel like everyone is really linked into it. You know, we're all connected to each other amongst social media, and, you know, even, you know, as stupid things like memes, I feel like we're all connected and we all like grew up on these same things, but I feel like these are such new concepts to people outside that bracket where I don't think the relation is necessarily like there, I think.
So what's the problem?
I think it's just that when the generation that is running the media and all these sources of information is trying to connect to this generation for 8 through 22, I don't feel like we're being properly represented. I think.
Why is that bad?
I mean, when it comes to certain issues, like, you know, there's a lot of stuff that we're talking about, but when it comes to, let me think of an example. A fun one. I think diversity. Here's this is one that I like to talk about a lot.
Okay.
When it comes to diversity, of course, like, I mean, it's an issue, but I feel like in a way that they don't really connect with us in the way that they think we want it, because it feels like they're appealing to our generation. I mean, for example, look at your now people pick on it a lot, but look at Disney. Their movies aren't necessarily, you know, catered towards adults. They're more catered towards that younger generation, and I feel like they're leaning more towards having like a bunch of these diverse characters in. But I feel like if they understood what we really wanted, they wouldn't be chugging these movies out, because we don't simply want diversity. We want good characters that can represent people who are diverse. Because, like, you know, you look at a movie I think a good example, and now again, this is just my opinion, and my opinion shouldn't be held as facts, but I think a good movie that does it is like one like Moana. Now I'm not a big Disney guy, but I mean I like that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But in more recent ones, it feels like it's just shoehorned in, and it's just like I don't feel like it's solving anything. I feel like they're trying to cater to us, but they're not really getting that connection.
They're kind of like pandering to what
pandering,
they think you
100%.
want, but they don't really know what you want.
100%. And it's like people another big thing that I don't think they understand is that diversity is it's got two sides to it. Of course there's groups that are considered minority groups that feel like they want to be represented, but in making all these works cater and pander to those minority groups, I feel like the representation in itself isn't done well. And I think it can be done well, and I'm totally fine with that, because I love movies that do it well. I think it's really good, and it connects to people who might not feel that connection. But at the same time, what are we doing to those groups that we consider to be well represented who aren't getting that anymore? Because I feel like you got to balance it,
Gotcha.
And that's only one issue that just comes with that like lack of connection. Because I feel like they get an idea, everyone outside that age bracket, they get an idea of what we want, but not how to do it.
Okay.
It's more general. They can't get down to like the complexity, I think.
So like in your example with the movie,
Mm-hmm.
you would prefer good characters over a diverse group of characters.
Yeah, I think you can pull off diversity with well-written characters. It just feels like these characters aren't really compelling, and it's just, and I have my own opinions, but I also have opinions from some of my friends who are part of these minority groups who agree with me, and they say the same things, where it's like I get that they're trying to like represent me and my group, but they're not well written. It doesn't feel like it just feels like it was there just to pander, not to really like get the whole point of diversity, which is like have good representations of like the reality of these groups.
Would you say that they have good intentions, but they're just missing the mark?
Yes and no, because good intentions, of course, there's some, they want to, reach out and get that diversity that people are wanting, but at the same time, you have to think that with people, I'm not the only vocal one about it. There's people online, there's people on social media, but it seems like they don't really change up the formula. So you have to think like, is this for monetary gain? Is it to make them look good? Like again, we'll go back to Disney. They're making a lot of these movies, and with a lot of controversial things that have come up, like the whole Ariel thing and the whole like Snow White thing, and I don't. It's a slippery slope to like say like, oh, you can't like change the race of a character, because some people have opinions, I have my opinions, other people, everyone will agree and disagree, but what I think is dangerous is to just put that in there and not really give any explanation, not really give any reason to it, and like instead of focusing on the character itself, I feel like focusing on the race is kind of missing the mark.
Okay.
And I feel like
they're focusing too much on the race and the diversity, where they're
not really getting the message. Yeah.
Lacking the message of the story.
100%. And it's like you're giving up these narrative elements in these like true like the characters themselves feel kind of feel pointless, kind of feel like there's nothing to them. And it's like what do you want? Do you want a a well-written character that is hold on, let me step back. I think it's a question like this. Do you want what do you think is the right way to do it? A well-written character that is diverse, or a diverse character that is written in?
Okay, gotcha.
It's like,
like sometimes it's full of diversity but empty of substance.
Exactly. And it's like I feel like this generation, in trying to kind of pander to us, they make these characters that lack the substance, because like they're hitting on that diversity mark, they are, but they're not doing it well. And then like, what's the point? You know?
You think it could be done? So what's your solution to this?
I think my solution is, it's not an easy one, but I feel like listening, this generation is very online, but I feel like genuinely giving a listen to what people are saying, because it's not hard to find what people say online. I mean, go onto social media, go onto YouTube, you'll see reviews, you'll see commentaries, you'll see all this stuff. It isn't hard to find. I think you just need to, listen to these people that you're trying to pander to and see what they really want. Because I feel like with a lot of these celebrities, these media outlets, social media, they're putting a lot of stuff out there. A lot of it ranges from like general social, social stuff that affects us every day to like political stuff. But I feel like none of it really hits the mark and really hits home, because I feel like most of it is put out there to like get those points, pander. But none of it's really like you said, none of it has that substance behind it.
Okay. So
I feel like they just need to listen to what people are really saying.
Okay, you want them to listen to you better.
Yeah.
What would have to happen for you to be satisfied and have that feeling that they are listening to you? What would they need to do?
Well, change I think takes a bit, but I think seeing signs of like, I'm trying to think of an example of. Okay, I got one. I'm gonna stick with movies because.
Yeah.
But now this doesn't really go along with the whole diversity thing, but it's an example of like what I think good change and like listening, could lead to.
Okay.
Take a movie that people had a bad reception to. I'm gonna go with, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the original, like they had a Sonic movie come out and it was live action, and I love playing video games, so I was hyped. But the trailer didn't look too great. People were outraged.
Okay.
And they had a response online, and they eventually changed the way that the character looked, because they listened to people. And with a film like that, that's not just for the money, because like to have to change the way an entire character is animated and modeled throughout the movie, that takes time, that takes money. That felt like they were really listening to what the people, the fans of the movie who really were actually affected by that movie, who really cared. Felt like they listened to them. They actually made a change that benefited them. Now,
based on the trailer?
Based on the trailer, which was like, and of course, like to have a trailer out, you're not just gonna have those scenes animated. You gotta have a good portion of the movie out there. So
Yeah,
that
like
definitely
that's your first foot forward.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
They put it out there, and I think that was one of the best trailers because they put it out there, and like a trailer should give you a teaser, and based on the reaction that people had, they adjusted the movie to benefit those who really cared about it, and I think that's a good example.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Why should they listen to you?
Well, I think this age group, 8 through 22, we are, it's said a lot, but I think it is true. Like, we are the future in one way or another. Like, when these people who are in, all these, work positions, leadership positions are gone, who's going to fill their shoes?
Okay.
And I feel
they should listen to you because you are going to be in their position next.
Exactly. And if we continue this trend of churning out this kind of substanceless, things, and it's not just movies. There's a lot of things that I feel like hit this same note of putting something out there just to appease rather than to like truly solve an issue. I feel like that trend is going to continue if we don't really correct things. And again, it's not just movies. I feel like there's a lot of issues that have the same issue where they, these companies are the people who are supposed to, solve these issues. They'll cater out this easy to make solution that they think really, really will fix the problem, but they're not really understanding what people are saying, and I'm being general, but there's a lot of things that I think this can apply to.
Why do you think this is happening?
I mean, it's a hard one to answer, but I feel like, again, like I said, I feel like that connection isn't there. They're not really understanding what we want. Also, in certain instances, I feel like it's very easy, because with the the society we have today, where everything is can be done very quickly. Like, you can send out a post very fast. You can get an announcement out there to a large group of people pretty quickly. I feel like it's easy to just try and fix a problem as fast as you can rather than take the time and come up with a meaningful solution. So I feel like maybe the mentality of these people who are making these decisions, I think, is really, making the problem persist. Okay.
What's the best counter argument to this idea?
I think the best counter argument is, at the end of the day, this is just my opinion, and I feel like people could be like, I really like this going back to the movie thing, I feel like people are really like understanding me and like my generation. I feel like people are representing these groups and like doing diversity well, so people could perceive that well, and there's definitely people on both sides. Um, I just think that that is a counter argument. And, it's the way that people perceive things at the end of the day. But I feel like it really is just in a lot of different facets of life, people not really understanding, and the people who have counter arguments. And not to say that they're wrong. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and I respect that. I feel like that's very important. But I feel like they would just say that, that's how I feel, or that, these media outlets, just by making an effort, are going in the right direction.
Okay.
You know,
Do you think that the people in your age group, most of them would agree with what you're saying?
I feel like, yeah. I feel like the majority of people who I think make those counter arguments are kind of outside that bracket. And of course, there's some within, not everything's black and white. But I think from what I've seen, and I've tried to not keep myself within an echo chamber. Like, when I go onto YouTube, I don't just watch people on one side. I like to watch both. But I feel like a lot of people kind of coincide with my argument here, that we're getting a lot of things to try and appease us, but not really solve anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
If you had to boil this down to like one main value that you hold, which is what is informing all this, what do you think that value would be?
I think a value that kind of goes around all this. I feel like honesty. I feel like being honest with yourself, and like not just I feel like no one is born into this world truly ignorant. I feel like people understand the world a lot more than they think they do, and I feel like we need to be honest with ourselves, not just me and my generation, but people outside of my generation. I think we need to be honest with ourselves, and in order for everyone to really connect and relate, I think we just need to be honest with how the world really is. Be honest with like what we're doing, why we're doing it, and I think we just need to, in a general sense, just be more honest with each other. I feel like a lot of people are putting on a face, being fake, and not really giving others what they really need. And I feel like if everyone were more honest in what they were doing, why they were doing it, I feel like that'd solve a lot of the issues that we're going through.
Honesty. Okay. How do you define honesty?
Honesty, I feel like honesty is being true to oneself. And I know that truth is kind of connected to honesty, so try not to use the word. Being who you really are, because there's a lot of things in life that are going to influence you, especially now. But I feel like you need to find who you are and stay to that.
How do you find out who you are?
Well, that's hard, but there's a lot of different things. And I feel like that's, taking a look outwards, get other perspectives. Therapy is a good one. I just came from therapy, and it's fun. It is fun because I like to explore the things that go on in my life. Mm-hmm. Not to say that therapy is for everyone, and that everyone's gonna find a solution through therapy. But going outside that, I feel like if you, like I said, take an outside look of yourself and see, maybe what is influencing you. I feel like you can peel back the layers and find out like who you really are. And you can start off simple, like what do I like? What are some key character traits that no matter who I hang out with persist? Like, I'd say I am very friendly. That's nothing that someone put on to me, but I feel like that's a part of myself. Like, I approach people. I like saying hi. I like making new friends. No one really put that onto me. No one really influenced me to be that way. That's just kind of how I am, and I feel like that's a part of myself. That's a start. You can branch off from there. It can go from simple character traits to like what your beliefs are, not what people put onto you. And again, I just think when you start simple, you kind of, it opens up more,
Okay.
Can look at those influences on your life.
You have time for a couple more questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Let's say I'm a filmmaker or animator or whatever, and I wanted to make a movie, and I wanted to focus on diversity as like paramount. and didn't really care about characters and the character development and the substance behind the story or anything like that. I just wanted my movie to be focused on diversity.
Yeah.
And I thought that because that's who I really am.
Mm-hmm.
What then?
So are you like, okay, I kind of see what you're saying. So are you doing that because like, you know, that's who you are. Like you want to like, kind of out of like, you know, kindness and like wanting to represent people. You make a movie where you just diversity and like.
Yeah, I wanted to be
trying to
honest
represent
with
a lot of people.
myself,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be an expression of how I could be honest and true to myself, and honest.
Mm-hmm.
What then?
Well, I think, especially in the form of like, you know, a movie, of course, I feel like criticisms that might come from that like might talk about how well the characters are written. I think those will arise whether it's, you know, good or not. But especially with diversity, I feel like your motivation is very important. And you know, like you said, if you in this situation are you know, really doing it out of the kindness of your heart, and you want to get diversity in there because you know that's, you know, what you are. You're honest. You know, you want to represent others. I feel like in order for that to really kind of like hit home, you have to convey that message, I think. And again, nothing is black or white, so there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. But I feel like if you make sure that message that's in there is about how the point of the movie might not be to have the best written characters ever. And again, like the movies that are criticized are movies that, you know, they're these big blockbuster films. Like it's kind of assumed that they're coming out with these like they're trying to make a good story. So like I feel like criticisms based off the narrative is valid. But if that film is coming from the perspective of this isn't trying to be some masterpiece, this isn't trying to be some big blockbuster. I'm trying to put myself out there and be honest with how I see things, and I want to represent others. The message is important. I feel like if you put that in there, regardless of how well written it is or not, that means a lot more than putting it in just to pander. Because you're not putting it in just to pander.
Okay.
You're doing it because that is what you want. You want to represent people.
As long as that was part of the message.
Part of the message, 100%.
That would be an honest way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about it? Or
Um.
do you have any questions for me?
I mean, I think it's a cool thing what you're doing. This is fun. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I saw this and I was like, I really want to stop by.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
100%.
It's really coming down. Do you have something in mind?
I'd say maybe we can do another one sometime, but it probably won't be around. But yeah, that was really cool. You can check out my YouTube channel by scanning that QR code.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can take a picture of this. This has my email address and stuff.
Yep.
Kind of like a digital
Got it.
business card.
All right. I will subscribe.
Awesome. Thanks so much. That was great, Colin.
Yep.
And good luck with criminology and law. So you want to be a lawyer?
Yeah. I want to try and be a trial lawyer and see how that goes. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, good luck, man.
All right. Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you, David.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. Take care.
You too.